Hello. Hi, Cory.
What's
Hello.
up?
Just saying.
Right.
Welcome to Toy Princess. I'm Allison Joy, and this, of course, is my guest, Cory from Make, Shape, Create.
Hello,
Um,
everyone.
and, oh, there's the bell notification. Um, so, anyway, hi. So, for all the viewers at home, this is my first stream back after a break for moving. So if I'm a little rusty, that's me and nothing to do with Cory. Um, for those who don't know Cory, introduce yourself.
I'm Corey from Make Shape Create. I customize toys, some play sets, some vehicle, actually a vehicle. I haven't done more than one. Uh, this is my shop. Yeah. I kind
Yeah.
of do whatever I feel like doing, but mostly Motu stuff.
And as I refer to Cory, the MacGyver of custom toys.
Which I love, by the way. I love that moniker.
Well, it's apropos though, because you're always breaking out stuff I would have never thought to use for a custom. Like, I think the first time I watched you, one of the first ones was when you had all the foam stuff and you were just making stuff out of it. I'm like, oh, it's a really cool idea. So of course I went ordered a bunch of it from Amazon and started making armor. So
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's awesome for that because it's super pliable. It's sturdy enough that it's not just gonna break right away,
right.
but it's you can build it up. You can, I mean, it's thin enough that you can't really thin it out too much more, but you can get thicker. So that if you needed to carve into it, you could. But I mean, you can do basic carving on it. So hit it with a
Yeah,
heat
it
gun
works.
and the details.
Well, what I liked about it was not it cuts really easy and then it's very
Mhm.
pliable. But also I liked that I could use um, even just like a regular inexpensive ballpoint to draw on it and then go in and paint on top of it with
Yeah.
acrylic. So yeah, it gets a little bit more stiff wherever you paint, but at the same time, not bad. And really quick, we'll say hello to Rayo Black. Hello, welcome, lovely to see you. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into it because we have a lot of slides today. Because as one of your fans, was like, send me pictures, and you did, and I pretty much picked everything you sent. So let's add the slides to the stage there. Oh, wait, but we're going to start here.
Okay. That's
So
today's
this
video.
is the video. Yeah, that's today's video, Battleground Tila, which one, it's to me like really weird that Mattel has not done this character yet because she's pretty cool. And it's one of the few Tila variants they could actually do. And
Mhm.
after they did Lady Slither, they now technically have all the pieces they need to make this figure happen. So,
Well,
and hello to
isn't,
Thomas.
isn't her bikini top a little different? But I might be
It is.
wrong. I don't have Lady Slither in front of me, but I thought hers was a
Well,
little
the
different. I mean,
Lady Slither
good.
top is different, but the shorts part
Oh yeah.
is is like exactly what they need. And when they did that, that was my first thought. Oh, well, we'll now get Battleground Tila. And it's been like what, a year and a half.
Right. They haven't
So
even used that Elvis again, which is I think it's odd that we've gotten it on one figure and that's it.
yeah, they've used that snake tail a couple times, but they haven't used the female furry shorts.
Mhm.
So, but I'm was really cool whenever you sent the thumbnails to say this was what you were doing, because I'm like, we're overdue. And what I liked, well, one, you sculpted a belt for her,
Mhm.
which is cool. I like, yeah, and there's I'm gonna really quickly we'll put you main screen. Wait, how do I do that again?
I don't know.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I have to quickly. Oh, wait. There we go. Solo layout. We'll get it. I'll get it. I'll get the hang of it again. Excellent. She looks really cool. So you sculpted the belt.
Mhm.
And then the top, did you sculpt that on? You sculpted that on top of the
I sculpted it
figure.
right onto the figure, and then
Okay.
I cut the back out of the Tila. I used the animated Tila as a base.
Yeah.
That way I had just the plain body and stuff like that,
Okay.
and then I just used the top that comes with it and cut basically the bikini
Yeah.
straps out of it and glued them onto the figure, so they are not removable anymore. They are actually glued on,
Yeah. That's still
and
pretty
yeah.
cool, though. I mean, and you use most of that Tila, so that's rad.
The only thing I did not use from that Tila was the stuff I cut away from the top and her hair.
Yeah.
Other than that, I basically used that whole figure,
Yeah.
either painted or modified in some way.
Nice. Which is one of the reasons I have an extra cartoon Tila, so that if I have to, I can make a battleground Tila. So
Yes.
she came out early, and then you trimmed down the Zodak gun to give her
Yes. Which
a
was
more.
I didn't think about that for when I did Marlena, and we'll talk about her
Yeah.
down the line, but I I just used the Zodak gun, and it was like super big because like the
Yeah.
handle's even like this much longer, the gun's this much longer, and then like I looked at the one or two reference photos I have, and the
Yeah.
ones in the thumbnail, and I'm like, it looks like it just doesn't have the like cross part on the front, so I
Yeah.
just literally cut that off and bore it out a little bit to make it more gun-like, and it matches the photo pretty good. Like it's
Yeah.
red instead of gray, but that's
When I
okay.
first saw that in the video, I was like, "Is that like a Cobra Commander gun?" Because it looks almost like the vintage Cobra Commander gun.
Yeah,
So, but then you explained in the video it was modified Zodak. So I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So
but yeah, I'm happy with her. And like I wanted to use this Tila's face because I love this Tila head.
yeah,
Like I think it's by far the prettiest one we've gotten. And like the Shiva hair just works, is just
yeah,
like a no-brainer. And it was
yeah.
just, I mean, it took a little doing to get the hairs separated, but once you
Oh yeah,
did, it's just gluing it on and it's no big deal.
yeah. It's a lot of the origins, the hair pieces are very well glued, which
Oh yeah.
kind of makes sense. So and there's the reference photo for in that,
Yeah.
because I just basically used the thumbnail because I'm like, it's perfect for what we need. All right. And then here's another thumbnail, and I use this one just because it had both of the characters. And I also
Mhm.
this is your cartoon faker,
Mhm.
um, cartoon toy faker, because faker in the cartoon is just He-Man with glowy eyes, and then a
Right.
cartoon
I think I
phony.
even mentioned that in the video.
And then I threw up your battle armor phony just because, so that people could see that phony is a character you've done a couple times. So
Yeah. But yeah, this was just one that like I needed. I just got moved in here. I didn't really have anything ready, but I had animated
yeah,
He-Man and I had an animated Skeletor, and I was like, well, I can just make these two real quick. It'll take me like a day and a half, and then there's a video, and it was real simple.
yeah,
Like I just the hardest part, honestly, was just waiting for paint to dry, and that's usually what takes
yeah,
the longest with these is just the paint. If and I've thought about even going to like lacquer, which is more like what I think they actually would use in the factory because it will dry faster, and
yeah,
then I can keep going. But
yeah.
you need mask and this and that and blah blah. So I just haven't done that yet.
Well,
But yeah, I mean, Phony's
um,
a character I created that, and I think we talked about this last time. But it was
we
just
did.
like I had extra Faker parts and Skeletor parts, and it was just like, well, why wouldn't there be an opposite? Like, there's always opposites in Motu. You
Yeah,
have
exactly.
Fisto and Tipu. You have you know, Night Stalker and Stridor. You
Yeah,
always Battle Cat and Panther. You always have like the opposite of it, but we never got an
yeah,
opposite of Faker, and it just seemed like there should be one. So that's why he's there,
yeah.
and I like him, and he's almost become like an unofficial channel mascot because he was like the second video I did when I started customizing, or third, I think.
He's also, I think, your first truly original character that you
Yes.
did a custom of. So, um, and
I do have
when
another original one planned,
oh
but we might talk
oh
about that later.
okay, yeah, no, we're definitely just when we get to the end of the slides, we're just gonna let you tell us all of your plans because that's the real reason I do this so that I can get a sneak preview and spoilers for what you're gonna do.
Right.
Um, and really quickly, you did the sort of DC Trinity of Heroes.
Mhm.
And this was, I liked these a lot because this is one of the things I've sort of been doing with Origins myself. I've been focusing more on the Teen Titans, but
Mhm.
all three of these are eventually on my list because I was not happy with the what was it? Funko did like
Yeah, what
Savage
was it?
Savage
No.
World or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Uh, oh, I can't even think of it.
Yeah,
Savage
Savage.
Age or something like that, or yeah.
Yeah, something to. I have the play. It's in a box in the next room because I haven't unboxed it yet. It'll eventually live back there with Crystal Castle, Grayskull, and Snake Mountain, but we're not to that part of the unpacking yet. But I liked that playset is probably the best thing about that line. In
Oh yeah.
general, I did not find the designs, other than maybe one or two, particularly inspiring. They felt really I don't want to say
Half-assed.
trying too hard, but they felt like they just for me a lot of those designs fell really short. I think like King Shark for me looked really good. I liked the Scarecrow, and I think a lot of the villains I think translated better than the heroes did.
Yeah.
I think the Aquaman was fine because they went with the arrow where he had the hook for a hand.
Yeah.
But in general, the rest of them just felt the Superman and the Batman. I would have much rather, honestly, I would much rather just have them in their, as you've done here, sort of classic,
Yeah. Absolutely.
standard costumes in the scale. So, and
Yeah.
any cool Wonder Woman is always good in my book. So,
And that's
this,
honestly another one that I did almost the exact same thing with, where I started with animated Tila and
yeah,
used a Shira face, and I think I even modified Sheila or Shira boots, if I
yeah,
remember
this
correctly.
looks
I
like
might
the
not have.
Shira boots.
So, like, it was those two just go really well. They work really well together. So,
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I've thought a few times about the cartoon Tila is it's sort of ridiculous. And you can quote me on that. That Mattel has waited until this long into the line to give a very generic female bot. Like because all we've had is either the Tila or the Shira or the Sorceress, and those are all really sort of specific. And I think one of the reasons, in my humble opinion, that we've gotten so few female characters in Origins is because those are the three options, and
yeah,
they haven't done enough. If they had gone back to Mark Taylor's original B sheet, where Tila, all of Tila's armor was an actual armor overlay,
yeah,
um, her original, the original concept was her body would be like the cartoon collection one. I think if they had just done that from the get go, um, we would have had far more lady characters, which is the one thing Origins still to this day kind of is lacking. So hopefully they
but
fix that.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the announcements though. I mean, we got Catra coming, we got
Yeah,
Frosta
we've got
coming,
Catra
so,
and
we
Frostus.
got yeah, the new Shira, but the new Shira that just came out like isn't even that same buck. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's a completely
a
different.
new sculpted buck, which
I'm
is
gonna
fine.
quickly put
Um,
you back on. I'll put you back on solo so you can put her right up
but
to
like
the screen.
this one is a new torso,
Yep.
which is I think is fine, but is kind of odd because it's like all you had to do is make the little rubbery stuff like you did
Yeah.
for Shira or not Shira, Tila and Evelyn,
Yep.
and as I assume they did for Catra and Frosta and the other ones that are coming out. Like I think part of the reason they didn't do that is that it's the whole Barbie thing, right? Like
Right.
you take all the clothes off Barbie, Barbie's naked. Like you're selling
Right.
kids a naked doll. that you
Right.
put clothes on. And granted, it's for girls, but it was originally meant to be for girls. I don't really care who's
Yeah.
bought what, you know what I mean? But I don't want to be taken that like, oh, it's only. I don't care. Buy what you want to buy.
Right.
Uh, but originally it was intended for girls. Now this is a line that's was kind of intended for boys, and so I
Yeah.
think they tried to shy away from like, hey, let's not give guys, little boys,
Right.
naked girls to play with.
Right.
So that's why they painted the white on underneath, which is
Yeah.
honestly like really like what, like I get it, I do get it, but like seriously, you don't go painting the
Well,
harness on
even
he under the harness.
well, even now with most modern Barbies, they have like for their waist piece, they have like a pattern piece on a lot where it's like even though it's still sort of flesh toned in some cases, it's really made so that it looks like they're wearing some sort of underwear, which is not how it used to be in the 80s. Like in
Right.
the 80s, it was just like it was bare, it was all nude, it was all flesh colored, and I don't know what happened. Somewhere along the way, people were like, no,
Parents got offended.
Barbie needs underwear. It's like just sell underwear for Barbie to wear. So
Parents got offended for the exact reason I just said, is that a little
right.
boy went and bought it and was like, look, mommy, it's naked. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's naked.
Oh
Get
yeah,
over
it's the worst.
it.
Um, let's so and sort of speaking of Princess of Power, these are some of the Princess of Power themed characters that you have done. We've got Despara, who is basically the from the DC Comics mass multiverse sort of universe, I guess is what we'll call it. That was instead of just Force Captain Adora, Shira was Despara, and it looks like they're making. If we get another season of the Revelations Revolutions world, it looks like we'll get this version of Shira.
Hopefully.
It's Baltros, right? No, this is yeah, this is Baltros, who technically is Masters of the Universe, but that bat sign is very hoardy.
Yes.
And he was developed at the time that they were starting work on Princess of Power. So I'm not entirely convinced Baltros was not meant to be the evil horde. So for me, he'll always be Princess of Power. And then of course your Catra. So
And
they
these,
all look
like, honestly, were just the funny thing is that some of these, like, I have like a running list of
yeah,
customs I want to do that, like, eventually I'll find like the spark or the little thing that, like, ooh, and then I get excited for it, and then I go do it. There's
yeah,
other ones where it's like, okay, I need a video and I need something. What can I do? Well, I think I have an extra China. I
right.
could make a Catra. I don't think I've done. I don't think they. I think that could be done. I don't think I've seen anyone do that, and just go from there. And that was literally how I got to that. It's
Right.
like I needed a video, and like because we haven't gotten many females in the line. There's
Yeah.
so many that can
Yeah.
be done and
It's
are
true.
very easy to do. But on the flip side of that, unfortunately, they don't always perform very well. Like none of the female videos I've done ever perform very well. It doesn't
It's
stop me from making them,
yeah.
but like I think that's kind of silly, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't really understand, but
Yeah, I don't yeah, no. It's weird because my channel is very sort of interestingly sort of divided, and it's like um the Princess of Power stuff doesn't do as well as He-Man stuff or Barbie and Strawberry Shortcake stuff, and even that is sometimes hit or miss.
yeah,
I have to be really careful when I'm dropping videos that I like. If I do too many Strawberry Shortcake videos, then all of my Motu stuff, all of the finger quote boy stuff will tank. And then if I do too many boy videos, all of my girl stuff will tank. And I don't know that it's my viewership because my viewership is pretty mixed. I have pretty 50-50 demographically. Like I've for a long time my viewers were like it was like 30% women, 70% dudes. And now it's pretty 50-50 where my audience is pretty split down the center. So I don't know. I sometimes wonder if YouTube makes assumptions, but it's like I just do vintage toy, content based around vintage toy lines. So what have you.
I
Or if I
think
have like Wonder Woman stuff and Batman stuff that does really well, then all of my toy stuff will technically tank. But it's like it's all the same thing, people. Right.
right. I think the thing is that, and I don't think it's necessarily the audience. I think some of it is YouTube.
Yeah.
And there's a channel I like, watch, and actually one of the ones that inspired me to even start on YouTube called I Like to Make Stuff.
Yeah.
And if you ever watch I Like to Make Stuff, it's a maker channel. He doesn't just do one thing. He does woodworking, he does metalworking, he does 3D printing, he does sculpting, he does like everything. And when he's been on YouTube for 10 or 11 years. So when you started 10 or 11 years ago, there wasn't that many of us on YouTube.
Exactly.
So any channel on YouTube got some pretty good traction.
Yeah.
Now there's, every year more people joined and more people started and blah, blah. So now, it's harder for the algorithm, quote, the algorithm to push his content to as many people because he might 3D print something today and he might make a bookshelf tomorrow. Well, those don't necessarily go to the same people, but I don't know. And so that's part of the problem I've had too, is that like when I try to do stuff like the DC stuff that you just showed, like those, you would think like, hey, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, these should do great. And like Superman did really well, or Batman did okay. Superman did amazing, which I didn't understand. And then Wonder Woman, and then like usually I'll put out a supercut afterwards.
Yeah.
And they usually do like about the same or a little less. No, it too. No one cared about it. And it was just like, what is going on? Like, so I don't know.
I've had good luck with Supergirl of all things. So go figure.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, it's too quick. There we go. All right. So and through these three together, because two of them are sort of connected, and the third one brings up a interesting dilemma for customizers. And really quick, hello Neil Hunter Hyde, welcome and thank you. We appreciate that. We'll try to be more talkative and not just like look at this cool slide. So tell me about the He-Man and the Skeletor here, because these are really cool designs.
So these are again from the comic books. These are from the Injustice versus Masters of the Universe crossover, and I forget the exact story because it's been a little while since I read it. But the way I kind of understand it is that for those who haven't played Injustice, which at this point, if you don't know what Injustice is, I don't know what you're doing. But it was basically a video game where Batman or Superman, the Joker, like nuked Metropolis, made Superman kill Lois and his unborn child, and then went evil after he killed the Joker. And so Batman and his team of heroes are trying to stop Superman and his team of heroes, and he keeps pulling in people from wherever he can to help him. One of the stories was he went to Eternia and tried to pull in He-Man and some of his people to help, thinking that he could take down Superman. And I forget exactly why, but for some reason, like the sword got broken or it got stolen or something. I don't remember, but he couldn't access the Power Grayskull anymore. And so he was accessing the power of Shazam. Because if you think about it, Shazam and He-Man are not that dissimilar.
No, they're not.
And so he basically, because Shazam was dead, he basically became the Shazam. And so it was a really cool design. And the Skeletor was kind of similar, but he imbued his sword with like the power of Shazam or Black Adam or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how he got it. But he needed the sword to do it. So that's why his custom had the sword and the other one didn't. But they were just cool looking designs that I
Yeah.
really liked. And it was like, you know what? This will be a good like. I was gonna do them as two separate videos, but then it was like I did the one, and it just was way simpler than I thought it was going to be. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do Skeletor while I'm at it, and then just throw them both in one video. And the video did pretty good. If I
Yeah.
remember correctly, it was like the one of the last ones of last. It might have been the last one of last year. I'm not positive, but yeah. So honestly, that's
I
my
just
come
I
to a
like
lot of these.
yeah, no, I really like those. I like that you dig a lot into the comic books, just because so much of Motu, especially, people draw from like Filmation, or it's just nice to see all the super nerdy corners of it, the deep dives that you do, which sort of morphs, and especially because these are two characters, just because of the weird licensing and how DC stuff is McFarland, Motu is obviously Mattel. We'll probably not get figures of these two, so these are a pretty safe bet. Which of course brings us to the third tile here, and kind of why I put these all together is Demo Man, who you've made, and then of course I think I remember watching your video, and then like a week or two later is when they dropped that Mattel was going to do a Demo Man. So what does that feel like?
I mean, that's fine. I mean, when you're making characters that are already established, which a lot of the ones I've done are, and so it's kind of a waiting game. Like, I don't think he was the first one. I think the first one, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think he was the first one that's happened to. But no, I made a Wondar, but Wondar had already come out, but he had sold out. And
Right.
then they did the re-release. And so then when I eventually got the Wondar, I kind of retired my custom.
Right.
I haven't technically retired this custom yet because I actually have another like video or short planned for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, the one that they came out with was better than mine, but I was using what I had and
Right.
modifying it where, they have, professional sculptors and 3D printers and 3D modelers and stuff like
Factories
that. And so like
children to build them. Yeah.
right, I don't. It's just me and my two little hands, and so I don't know. It's fine. I'm glad they do. Origins is my favorite line. Like, I've got a few of the Masterverse ones. I get a few McFarlane ones here and there, but like, it is by far my favorite.
Yeah.
So like, I want them to keep coming out with these, and if that means that every single custom I've made ends up becoming an actual figure, great. Like, that means the line's keeping on and
Right.
not dying out like the original one did. Which even though maybe some of them don't sell out as quickly as they used to, like, it doesn't seem like they're stopping anytime soon. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah. What's also nice, I mean, like, I know for some people, like, if it's not selling out instantly, they're gonna say, "Oh, it's not a success." But to me, like, it's a bummer when things would sell out within 5 minutes, and like, there's that anxiety whether or not you're going to get it, and then you get, because I tend to get 2 to 3, one to open, one to keep
Mhm.
mint on card, and then the extra usually to custom. So, you feel less, but I have a hard time. I still haven't customed any of my extra Mattel Creation figures because there's so many people who couldn't get some of those early ones that it feels really weird to me to like start carving them up. So with that said, and really quick, hello Brennan, lovely to see. It's been forever.
Hello.
Welcome. One of my favorite people, Brennan Barnes. Uh, yeah, like that's sort of where I'm whenever Origins came out, I remember thinking this is my last all-in toy line.
Mhm.
Um, and then of course the loyal subjects started doing strawberry shortcake. It's like, but technically it's not the same. So I'm kind of all in right now on the loyal subject strawberry shortcake stuff. But that's like that's not Origins is my last all-in action figure line. So
See,
um,
I've been trying to collect all the Origins. I started late, so
yeah,
we might have talked about this last time. I'm not sure, but
we did, but it's
I
been
went,
over a year, so have at it.
yeah. So I went through a weird phase in my life. I was an action figure kid. Like I had Motu, I had superpowers, I had Thundercats and Ninja Turtles and Captain Power, and like I'm sure there's 12 other lines that I'm totally forgetting. Um, I had the New Adventures of He-Man, and at the time, I liked the New Adventures of He-Man because I just wanted more He-Man. I didn't
Right.
care that it was different, and that looking back on it now is, oh my god, horrible. But like I was in like, and then when the Batman movies came out, I was in on those, and the Batman Returns figures, like, and the animated series figures. But then the animated series was like kind of my last Batman the animated series. Let me specify. Was like the
Yeah.
last one I kind of got figures for, and I didn't even get all of them. Like up until then, it was kind of like all in for each one, but some of them I didn't follow all the way through. Like I didn't follow uh Turtles all the way because Turtles, the original line, ended up going to like what 96 or 98 or something like that. I was well
Something
out of
like
it by then.
they've technically never, as far as I can tell, there's never really been a time where turtles weren't on a toy shelf in some capacity. Because
Oh
even when
yeah,
they stopped that original line, it was like a year or two before more turtle stuff was out. It's
right.
funny you mentioned that because, like, for me, because I'm a little bit older, um, like my last toy line was actually Princess of Power. And then,
Okay.
after that, I would collect, like there's that year or two where it's like I would go to KB and they would have like a bunch of old Star Wars figures, like three for a
Mhm.
dollar or whatever. So I'd pick a lot of stuff like that up. And then I had stopped because, it was high school, music, boys. Um,
Mhm.
and then I really got into sort of hit puberty and slasher movies, like Friday the 13th, Halloween, so boys, scary movies, music. It was, middle school was good, and high school. But then senior year we went shopping in Houston, and the Dillards there was clearing out all of their toys, and they had a mental, and she's right over here. I haven't put her back up on the wall, but they were clearing all the toys, and they had like 7 Double Trouble Princess of Power mint on card.
Oh
And
wow.
they were like $1.50 or whatever because they were clearing their entire toy section out, and I don't know how they ended up with 7 Double Troubles and nothing else. Probably why nobody else could find Double Trouble in my part of the country because
Right.
they were all at this Dillard's, which was always like $20 even in the. But I bought it, and we were there buying school clothes, and my friends were like, "Oh my god." And I was just like, "Oh, I really liked these." And one of my friends was there, and she had a bunch of inbox Barbies. And I'm like, "It's like your Barbies," and she was like, "Oh, okay." And that kind of started. And then right after graduation, Batman Returns came out, and I wanted that Catwoman figure. And I got into comic books really big. So I had all the superpowers set up. So and
Yeah.
Catwoman fit in with that, and then Batman the animated series, and I got all the villains. Um, and then Power of the Force, and this is what it's been since. So
It's funny because like I stopped hardcore collecting with, like I said, around that time, but then like in the, I want to say it was late 90s, it might have been early 2000s when the Total Justice line came out. Like
yeah,
I had a few of those. Um but then it was kind of like one of those things that like I'd still walk in the toy stores and I'd still check
yeah,
them out like KB, when you go to the mall, but I
yeah,
wouldn't buy anything really. Because like you just said, like your friends are like, why you want
right,
that? Like it wasn't like today where like you have a new Marvel movie every 3 months. It was like you got
yeah,
a comic book movie every 6 years if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And like it was usually Batman, Spider-Man, or Superman until X-Men and Blade happened. But
Yeah, it was honestly like, I mean, again, I'm a little older, but it was like Batman, Batman Return. It was the Batman movies. I
yeah,
mean, there are a few things like The Shadow and Phantom, but those
oh yeah, I forgot
bombed.
about them. Yep.
Nobody
But they were
really
really
like
good
those.
movies too. They just didn't do real well, but they were great
Yeah.
movies. But
I
like,
honestly want to go back and buy some of those Kenner lines. So
yeah. But like I got them, and then it was like I pick up one here and there, and I just didn't pick anything up. And like, still makes you angry. Why? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? What did I miss?
I'm there with. I mean, that
No,
entire
totally just yeah. Why did Brennan?
that
You're going
there
to need
was
to explain why that dark side made you angry. I need to know. I'm curious now. I remember that being
yeah.
a non-removable. Oh, got it. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
piss me off too. I get that.
Yeah, I only from Total Justice. I had the Huntress. I had Kyle Rayner. I had um Connor Hawk Green Arrow
Yeah.
and the Sparrow because I was only at the time. I was not buying duplicates. I just wanted one of every character. Every version of a
I'm
character.
surprised you don't have the Wonder Woman.
She was released at
Well, that's
she
right.
was
She
like
came in that
KB.
JLA line,
Yeah, and
which
she
was
wasn't
the
very.
same molds. Just
I don't have her. I was going to get her, and then she's back on the shelf because I've been unboxing all of the stuff that's been in storage for decades. But right after that, DC directed their first figure, which was a Perez based Wonder
yeah.
Woman, and she was just superior. So that was my Wonder Woman because it was the same costume. They were putting her in the Perez version. So
Yeah. Hey Tom.
yeah.
Tom's one of my like real world friends.
Oh, nice. Well, welcome.
That sounds really bad, but like I know him. He lives down the street from me.
Oh, nice. So he knows where. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, there was that in between time between Total Justice and DC Direct. And DC Direct, they had a line that had
Mhm.
they did a second line that had the blue Superman, and the scale for that was what DC Direct originally was. Originally, DC Direct was just going to be a single scale of different characters that wouldn't necessarily. They
Mhm.
didn't have toy lines they could easily fit into at retail, and then it quickly spiraled into where we are now. So, yeah, it's dark times for Hal, like for a long time.
It was,
So
but it was such a good story though. Like,
it was a pretty good story. And then he was the Spectre, and then
but that's like
yeah,
during this whole time is when I was like you said, I got into comic books, and it went from
yeah,
action figures to comic books, and so like I stayed on comics pretty much. I still read some here and there, but nowhere near as many as I had. Like I was getting every Batman title, every Superman title, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Flash, Justice
yeah,
League, Nightwing, Robin, Catwoman, like Superboy. Like I had 20, 30 comics I was getting every month. Like, and that was when they were, $2 a piece. It was no
yeah,
big deal. You're talking $40 a month. Like that's nothing. Now, like you get 3 comics and it's $40.
yeah. It's
It's
ridiculous.
crazy. But
Hello,
I went
Oz.
I went real hardcore in the comics and kind of left the toys behind for a long time.
Right.
And then after Jess and I got together, um, when we were in our apartment, like we were in a Walmart, I think, and they had the classic Batman. Actually, it was not this one, but like the DC,
Yeah,
Mattel DC one. I want to say maybe it was the Superpowers one, and I've always liked that original costume.
yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, oh, I
The
really,
DC
yeah.
Infinite repaints line. I've got a couple of those
Right.
over there too. I
Um,
think I have
but
that Batman somewhere.
oh, I know I have him somewhere. He's probably back there. But yeah, I was like, I'd really like to get this and just like put it on a bookshelf or something like that. She's like, go for it. And like Jess has always been like 100% like she's nerdy like we are. And it's just like, you want it, go get it. I don't care. I
Nice.
wasn't still used to that. I was still used to like, why do you want that? That's, you know, you're supposed to be like watching sports and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, that's great. So
I think Matt.
she kind of changed it and was like, hey, if you like this, go check it out. And then very soon after that is when Motu started coming out again. And I remember us being in Walmart and seeing the whole end cap, and I was like, oh wow. And she's like,
Right.
what? Because she didn't know anything about it. She's was born in 86. She saw like the 2000X probably because she was doing
Right.
retail at that time, but she didn't know anything about it. And so I was like, no, this is like what I had as a kid. Like I had all of them. Like I had all of these. And she's like, well, why don't you grab a couple? I was like, no, I don't need them. They'll just sit on a shelf, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't get them until like, it was like 2 years later. It was 21, I want to say. She got me the 2 battle armors.
Oh,
And
those are good ones.
I was like, oh. And then I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just get all the He-Man and Skeletors. And I think they were just getting ready to come out with Flying Fist and Terror Claw. Sports ball.
That's literally right. Well, the door is closed now that we have a house, so we've got rooms. But he's literally out there watching hockey right now. So he was
And, like, I
apparently
don't
one of
mind
his teams lost.
like it's one of those things that like I watch sports usually if like I'm at the bar and they're on, or if I'm at a friend's house and they're on. Other than that, I don't usually. I'll kind of keep up on what's going on to the point, but like I don't really give a shit. Like,
My favorite sports are skating if Tanya Harding is there, and men's volleyball. Um, and like those are my sports. Skating if Tanya Harding might show up and hit somebody with the club, or men's volleyball. Beach volleyball where they're like, anyway, we should get back to
but
hello.
yeah. So
well, it is that time of day, so we can
I'm doing my best to keep it PG-13, but to be fair, I cuss
PG-13.
like a sailor.
Yeah, same. You've seen
I
Dexter, right?
yes.
Deborah Morgan. I'm
Yeah.
not quite as well spoken as Deborah, but I'm up there. So I say everyone gets 1 or 2 F-bombs per. At least you get 2 F-bombs after 6 p.m. Pacific. Well, your time. So.
In my world, you get them for breakfast. Like,
oh yeah, no
punctuation.
Oh. Hello, Derek J. Hoover of the Yesterday's podcast, and one of my co-hosts for Retro Cavalcade, aka the Rural Juror. And hopefully, if we can line up, we'll be doing a live stream this week to be thankful that we don't work at NECA. So really so anyway, let's.
Sorry, I kind of derailed us on the whole thing.
Oh, I have as well. Like I'm just as bad.
Yeah, we'll get back into that later.
Anyways, so Hero and then Queen Marlena. So
these were ones that like Hero, like that was one that I wanted to do, but again, it was like I couldn't think of the thing, the one, and I don't remember what it was. I was watching some video and they started doing gold leaf, and I was like, I wonder if you could gold leaf the figure. I'd never gold leafed anything. I haven't gold leafed anything since I did this. Like, you sent me the link to like all the different colored ones, and I bought them. They're in the drawer right over there.
Yeah.
And I think I tried it one time after that, and it was like, yeah, this isn't working. I'm not gonna do that. But
I did, I had I've tried it twice, and the second time came out much better.
Oh yeah.
And so I think it's just I need to play with it, and but the second one that came out much better. There are parts of it that look as close to Vac Metal as we'll probably ever get, unless you work
Oh
at
yeah.
Super 7, and sad for them. And that's
I will do my best, Tom. I'm
yeah,
just real quick. I'm on Tom's show 2 weeks from now. Uh he has a
and
show with Kenzo and Mega J called Spilling the Geek Tea.
yeah, this week I'm gonna play with check my schedule so that they've invited me to join them, and I just have to now that we're back in the swing of things. It's gonna happen. Um, he does, and Toy Pooloy is amazing.
I want to do that, and that is on the list too.
Yeah,
As electroplating in place of it. Yeah. But and then the Queen so then the Queen Marlena was just I don't remember what sparked the idea other than I think I was just watching I want to say I was watching the channel that I don't watch anymore because he likes to steal stuff from people. But
oh yeah, that person.
yeah, that guy. And he was talking about the Queen Marlena figure or whatever. And I was like, we don't have one now.
Right?
Like that would be one that like it would, and it took a couple days for me to think it out because it was like, well, if I wanted to just do the animated one, Lee's Customs, he's a customizer around here. He sells
Yep.
parts.
Yep.
He has a kit that
He
is a
does,
great
which
kit.
I bought, and it's amazing. So if you're watching this and you need a Queen Marlena, you can't
Yes,
wait.
hit
Definitely
one of
check
us
out
up.
Leaf.
We'll send you his link, but
Yep.
it's a perfect Marlena kit, and it's like,
Oh
well, I'm
yeah.
not just going to do that over. He does a good job. I don't need to do that. But what like King Randor doesn't look like King Randor in the animated series. So what would Queen Marlena look like? And then that's where I brought in a lot of like the She-Ra stuff because it was like, well, She-Ra, with She-Ra's mom, she probably got this stuff from somewhere, and so that's why she had like her chest, her boots, that kind of stuff. And I modified it from there. And I literally winged it. Like I did not, I had a very, very vague plan and just kind of threw whatever at the wall that I thought was going to stick. And I really liked the way it turned out. But the only thing, and I didn't show it in the video, I don't think, is that big old Zodiac gun I did not like, which is part of the reason why I cut this one down for Battleground Tila. So I ended up ordering one, and I want to say it was like either a 2000X or a GI Joe gun that was like a laser gun or whatever.
Yeah.
And I gave her that instead, and it was way better. And I was like, "Yep, that's better. I'm happy with that." So she actually has that, even though she's not displayed because she's in a pile with
Right.
all the other ones that I have to find a place to display in here. But I got a plan for that. So
I that's what's yeah, I have to get everything. I stopped unboxing stuff because I'm like, I need to just get everything put together so that I can finish unboxing and display stuff. And
right.
also this is temporary until we finish the remodel on what's gonna be my studio slash library slash display room. But this needs to be functional till then. So
Mhm.
when I'm done, I'll do a tour so that because something's got to get displayed. I can't not have toys around me. You know
Oh,
how it is.
absolutely. I actually this is the only thing I've got displayed so far. I've got,
Oh,
and it's just
nice.
it's just one of each. Like
Yeah,
I'm not really an on card collector, but I had one of each of those, and I was
yeah,
like, well, I'll do the He-Man and Skeletor, and then I was like, well, I can do the She-Ra and the Hordak too, and so I'm probably not gonna put too many more up there, but it's something.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to put any of the carded stuff on the wall because my luck, I will get it all up and arranged, and that's when the remodel stuff is done, and then I have to take it all down. And after unpacking the apartment to get moved, oh my, the worst was having to like take stuff off the wall. So,
Mhm.
anyhow, let's Faker.
Yeah. I do a lot of Fakers. I love
You too.
Faker. Faker is like, I don't know why, but he's like one of my favorites. And I don't, there's literally been so few stories told with Faker. Like he's in like what one episode of the animated series or
Yeah.
the original one, Filmation, and he's He-Man with glowing eyes, like you said earlier. That
Yeah.
we're getting a figure of He-Man with glowing eyes and new boots. Like whatever, Mattel, have fun. Like just the excuse to literally release the same figure again. Uh, and then he was in. I don't think he was in the 2000X show at all.
He
He
was,
wasn't
but
in the
they
CGI.
didn't get him all the way there. Remember in 2000X how there was the robot that Man at Arms had made to
Mm-hmm.
help Prince Adam / He-Man train?
Mm-hmm.
That was eventually going to be Faker. So they had a whole arc
Oh,
with it where it was eventually gonna. I can't remember because it's been a year or 3 or 4 since I read the break. I have. I'll send you offline once later. I'll send you. I've got some pictures of one of the stages of evolution they had before he looked. But eventually, because he was training with Adam / He-Man, he was going to have to be programmed to have all of He-Man's moves.
right.
Um, and over time that would have became Faker. So they were building it like, and it wasn't just we probably would have got a Faker who wasn't, at least in one of his incarnations, just like had more of a design than Blue He-Man, which I don't mind. Like
Right.
I people, there are people who like sort of complain about repaints. As a kid I always enjoyed how Mattel could take like Merman, Stinkor, Beastman, Mossman. Like I always liked when they would take and just flat out change the colors, different armor, and make a whole new character. I like that.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I'm
And like
easily
the line was kind of built on that, right? Like they had
yep,
what four bodies. You had the demon body, the human body, the beast body, and the female body.
yep,
And like they built $1 billion brand on four
yep.
bodies that they just put new heads on and molded in different colors. Like
Well, in Wave 2 they only added, like sort of the like cyborg parts.
yeah,
Like um yeah, so I don't know. I always, like even as a kid, I saw Evil Lyn and I'm like, that's just Tila with a different head. But I
right.
think for me, the color scheme and just the card back for Evil Lyn, that picture, it invokes so much imagination in me that I didn't care. Like, same with Faker. Like, even as a kid, I liked the design. I would, like, I can't remember. I want to say he might have been available briefly as a mail order thing. I could be wrong because it's been, since the 80s. But my brother had him, but I would always take off that armor because
Mhm.
I liked that sticker with the the I thought that was so much cooler than the orange Skeletor armor. Was that like the real to real on his chest that meant he was a
Right.
robot.
Right. And like I don't know, I like that, and I like that the comics kind of played with it a little bit here and there, where it's like the way I understand it is like he was he they captured He-Man, they put Faker in there to kind
Yeah,
of like take over for him. And like I think originally, and this might not be a story, and I might be remembering this all wrong, and this might just be my head canon. So forgive me if I'm wrong. But the way I thought it was that, he introduced Faker, and then Faker was like, hey, uh, I'm actually a Gar, and that's why I'm blue. But
right,
you guys are kind of racist against Gars. And so I had a magical harness that made me look human. But in reality, I actually wear this one. And
right,
everyone's like, oh, okay, our savior's like this. Okay, that's fine. And the whole time it's actually Faker, not He-Man. I don't know if that actually happened or not. That's the way I kind of remember it. And maybe I dreamt the whole thing,
right.
but I think it's cool stuff.
I
But
think
the only
there's
other
been a
time I think we got him is in Revelations, where it was literally
yeah,
one episode again, and again he looked just like He-Man until they tore the skin off him,
yeah,
and he's a blue metal robot.
yeah. Well, I know that there was Because he was in one mini comic toward the end when they reissued him. There was a point, I think in one of the European markets where he was given the backstory that Skeletor created him through magic, and the reason he's blue is because Skeletor's magic couldn't properly replicate He-Man. So it
Hmm.
was. So there are a lot of interesting. Like somewhere, I know where it is. I have the He-Man, like the character book that they put out when they were doing the art
Hmm.
of books through Dark Horse. I'll look through that and see if that story you remember is in there. Because if so, that means it was official canon somewhere. Yeah, I think Origins. It would be nice if they did a deluxe faker, or a battle armor faker even.
I don't understand why they haven't. Like, literally, when you put out the first ones, you have all the parts. If anything, do it as a Comic-Con one. Like,
Yep.
do it for Comic-Con or PowerCon's coming up this year. Do it for that. Like, Mattel hasn't done anything for PowerCon since it moved to Ohio. Like, put out an exclusive faker of the battle armor. It would sell out. I'm telling you, it would sell out.
Well, look how quickly the
Google.
Leo faker with Copycat sold out. I mean, Duplicate.
Yeah. Well, that was Joe Amato's, and they just stole it from him and then renamed it.
You're right.
So,
Well, that's the problem though. Like that's the sort of I think fear of all customizers when you're working in someone else's, with somebody else's property. Like they kind of, um, they could either send you a cease and desist or they can take your idea and, good luck trying to fight that because you have to say in court, well,
yeah.
I was ripping off their idea. And it's like, okay. And so goes in tight.
Sorry, I meant to mute me and I accidentally muted you. So sorry. That did not work right.
Fine. No.
Oh, so the laser lights, yes. I missed that, Oz.
Yeah,
the
Mattel
laser light. There we go.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Oh, I didn't know that that's why they moved. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't bother me. It's closer to me now.
Yeah.
So the laser lights, these are ones that I'm positive we're going to get these because they keep saying they're going to do the whole vintage line. And granted, these were only released overseas, but if any He-Man Skeletor is going to sell out, it's probably going to be these two. But
Axel has put them on quite a bit of packaging art at this point.
Right? Which tells me that if they don't have a plan for it, they're at least working on it behind the scenes, trying to figure out the best way to do it. But this was, the He-Man is simple because it's literally just new boots, new pelvis, and armor because it's not hardwired into them. Yeah. The Skeletor, on the other hand, is going to take some more engineering. And that's kind of what I did is I was like, okay, well, how do I do this? And I literally ran the wires into the arm and drilled it in, which works out because he kind of got wires hanging out of him anyway.
Well, that's the thing though. Like with LED technology now, like it would, like for you, like there's a little bit more involved in making it happen, but for Mattel, it would be really easy.
Yeah.
To use LED technology to make the Skeletor head. And I mean, because I've got somewhere like a little tiny like LED thing that would easily fit into like a bulky Skeletor head.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like mine fit in there with no problem, but like I wasn't molding it from scratch. I was modifying a skull that I already had. So if you were molding it from scratch, you could just, mold the thing in there and then it'd be fine. Same thing with the hand. You just mold it in there and just mold the arm and then paint over it or whatever. And you could have like a metal joint there so that that conducted the wire, or something like that. I mean, there's a million different ways to do it. But I don't know. I liked, this was ones that I wanted the challenge of figuring out how to do it. But this also goes back to like, these are the designs that eventually became the New Adventures. Like
Right.
if you look at that Skeletor, and then you look at the new Adventures of He-Man Skeletor, you can't tell me they're not the same. They didn't start out as the same design. I'm sorry,
Right.
you can't tell me that they are the same. Um, He-Man maybe not so much, but I still think that that's where he started. But again, I like the challenge, and I like the idea of when you get something, like a these. I didn't want the big battery thing under them, so that's when the little nickel one, that little watch battery thing. Once I found it, it was like, oh, that's how I can do this, and that's what sparked the idea. The He-Man one, like he has that as part of his armor, so it wasn't a big deal for him. But for Skeletor, I didn't want to have the cape cut out like they did in the vintage one, and like they did for the classics. So I did it my way, where it's just under the cape.
Well, they are very cool. And these will probably be the next two Mattel dolls that you've made. So
Yeah, right. I won't be. You know what? I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they do like a new He-Man or Skeletor first, because
yeah,
I would put money on that these will probably be, uh, if not the ones that close out the line, towards the end of the line, for that very reason. Because there's other characters we haven't gotten yet, like Too Bad, like
you're right.
Red Store, a whole section of the Horde, you know,
Yep.
and yet they're still releasing new ones. Again, I'm totally fine with that. Like I'm totally down for like sketchbook versions of these characters.
I don't, like I don't. People are like, well, when Origins ends, I mean, technically Origins might end, but I think at this point Mattel will keep the 5.5 scale as is. I
Mhm.
think they're going to continue to use it. I think we'll just see it. Like Origins technically will end once they finish all the vintage figures. But I also feel like they're just gonna, like they'll keep, because they haven't really dove into 2000X. There are, they haven't done anything from like Revolutions in that scale. So I would not be surprised
I
if they like just keep the scale going. They may not call it
oh,
Origins, they may not look, like have the same packaging, but I would expect we'll get, especially 87 was the movie, 2027. Like I could imagine we'll get in the scale some movie figures by that
right.
point.
Like, and that
So
wouldn't surprise me at all, because we've only gotten them in Masterverse and in Classics,
yeah.
and it seems
So
like now they have. I don't know if it was a likeness thing or what, but and I think I don't know if we'll talk about it or not, but if you have the movie ones in here, like the
I do.
2000X head is very close
Yeah.
to Dolph
Dolphin.
Lundgren anyway, so it's
Yeah.
like just put that one on there, and if anything, just give him different hair. Like problem solved. I
Voila.
there, yeah, there you go. Good segue. But like, I mean, that's basically like not that much different than a
No.
Dolph Lundgren head anyway. And like the 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 Skeletor head that came with, or the face that came with the second battle armor face, like I don't know why, but just something about it was like, you know what, this would work perfect, I think, for that.
Well, they haven't. They've not reused the head sculpt from that first Lords of Power like 5-pack, and
Yeah,
that particular Skeletor head would translate pretty well to a movie look.
absolutely.
So
That would be, and again, I think it's the same technology, that it's literally just a faceplate that plugs onto the helmet and they
mhm,
glue it on. So
yeah,
like just put a bulkier helmet on, or hood on it,
yeah,
and go from there.
and then use that face again to build up the Gold God Skeletor figure.
Yeah, absolutely. And just do like, I don't know, do 5 or 6 of them. You can do these two, obviously, maybe a Man at Arms, a Tila, a God Skeletor, maybe Evil Lyn, and maybe Beastman or something, or that would be the perfect time when they do Blade and Gwildor
Yeah,
and
yeah, because they don't. Yeah, those
oh,
two they haven't done yet.
I can't think of his name. Sirach, the smoke
Sauron.
guy. Sauron, that's it.
Yeah,
Uh,
Sauron.
but that, then you can get a few more, you can get another use out of a He-Man and a Skeletor, because
Yeah.
like He-Man it's the same nude body that you've used however many
Well,
times. You already got the wrestling pelvis, like, and that's another thing we're not even talking about, is that they use these same molds for
yep.
the WWE figures,
Yep.
where I get most of the stuff also when I need just something bare.
When I think for the 5.5 for the origin scale, they don't actually need to do actor likenesses. I think
Mhm.
like that kind of is more important than Masterverse scale. I think for 5.5, they could just get away with the He-Man, this particular He-Man face, and
Mhm.
literally just reuse that 2000 X head sculpt, and there you have it. So
And the sad thing is that you probably could even use the armors for either classic. Well, I know the classics armors will fit them.
mhm.
It might be a little tight, but
But
that's how they did the wrestling, the masters of the WWE
yeah,
figures.
they actually scaled those down. They had the tooling, and it's scaled down to 5.5.
Yeah.
Um, it, um, um, Mr. Home Arcade, when he did his Geldor review, compared them to classics, and it looks like the armor is different, but the axe, according to him, the axe. I don't have a Geldor, so I can't classic Geldor, so I can't compare. But he said the head sculpt, the head and the axe are the same thing, just ported over. So they didn't even scale those two down.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that was one of the cool things. I totally miss classic. Like, not miss it as in I wish it would come back. Like, I
Yeah,
missed it. Like, I did not know a thing about classics until after it technically had ended, but right before Snake Mountain had come out.
yeah,
And so it was gone by the time I even heard about it. And it was like, what's this? I never saw this. Blah, blah. But like, I've ordered a couple of the armors and used them on origin figures, and they work. They're snug, but they
yeah,
work. Um, so like I could totally see them using the He-Man and the Skeletor stuff from that to save a couple bucks and throw it on there. I mean, hey, if someone out there has a classics movie Skeletor or movie He-Man and you want to throw it on a Origins buck and prove me right or wrong, feel free. But I would assume that they'd fit okay enough that you
yeah.
could do that and save some money and get you two more figures. And they're not going to sell out. They'll be peg warmers to a point, but it will continue the line.
Right. Well, I mean, He-Man and Skeletor always, in my opinion, should always be available.
Mm-hmm.
And I think technically it should be considered peg warming for those two, because you need those to do any sort of a collection of Masters of the Universe. So
Oh yeah, which is why the vintage one failed, because they let those go off the thing, and
right.
you get Buzz off or whoever all day long, but you couldn't get a Skeletor or a He-Man anymore.
Or if you could,
Even though
it was the deluxe
right,
Flying
well,
Fist Terror Claws.
right, which some
And
people
those,
that was their Skeletor, that was their
yeah,
He-Man.
but because that was all, but like I, definitely think that had an issue. It was part of it because, if you're watching the cartoon, like he doesn't have flying fists, he doesn't have terror
No,
claws. Um, so like they're not, and terror claws had that sports bra, so which
right.
I always thought was cool, but apparently people were like, "What's wrong with Anyway, speaking of, you did a vintage style Too Bad, but you actually did molds of the vintage figure's head for this, right?
I did. The funny thing is, Oz was actually with me when I bought this. Too bad. It was me and him at we have a local store called Attorney a Dream that they have two locations and they are amazing stores. When you're supposed to come, I think in March, right, to Maryland.
That is the goal.
You must go to these two stores. You will love it. But when I go, I try to buy something, even if it's something stupid like a weapon accessory or something, a used figure or whatever, I try to buy something while I'm there. And I knew that I wanted to do a two bed, but I've long since lost my two bed or whatever. And so I just bought
Yeah.
another one. I think it was like $10. It was worn. It wasn't in great shape, but it had everything I needed. The joints are loose. The legs are, about to fall off, all that stuff, but it worked. And yeah, I just hot water and pried off the heads and just molded them in silicone. And then I needed to let them sit, I think, a little longer or bore out the holes a little better because they did eventually split down the back because, yeah, they were homemade. But they still work. They work perfectly. And if you don't turn the head around, you don't know.
Right.
I mean, but this is a perfect example. Like the armor for that is a classics armor.
Yeah.
That's classic two bad armor that like works perfectly. And like because I wanted it to be removable. The vintage one, it was molded in, and I didn't want
Yeah.
to do that. This was before they announced. I think this came out or I posted this, and then I think a week or so later is when they announced the animated one.
Yeah, the cartoon collection.
But even I said, it's like, why are we getting this one? And we haven't even gotten the vintage one. Apparently the sculpt's already done for it, they said. I don't know.
Yeah, they've got it. Yeah, they did Jay at Geeked Out Life when he was there for, was it San Diego? No, it wasn't San Diego.
Yeah.
No, maybe it was.
Yeah, it
When
was.
he was
Yeah, I
there
think it
that
was.
they mentioned to him. It sounded like, based on what he said, that they have the sculpts done for all of the remaining vintage figures that they're going to do. It's just they're spacing them out, which
No, yeah.
I'm fine with. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
have to have
absolutely.
them all. I just want to know that they're coming. So,
Mhm. And they said it last year on to Pixel Dan. They said again to Pixel Dan this year, and then also to Geek Dead Life this year. That no, the goal is that we are going to put out all the vintage characters. Now, I don't think that means the vehicles and playsets too, which I am kind of bummed about because
right.
I wish they would do that stuff too. But I mean, we'll see. They are still putting out playsets, so I mean, we're gonna get the snake one.
I hope.
But again, like, and you and I never actually talked about it, but like, I was fine with the snake playset they were gonna put out.
Yeah.
I understood why people were upset because I too was thinking we were gonna get like something compared to like Castle Grayskull or Snake Mountain, not something 2/3 of the size of Eternia.
Right.
you also were getting a vehicle in there, and you were also getting I think a figure or two with it. And it was like,
At
oh,
least the resurrected Lady Slither.
I thought there was another one too, but I might be wrong. But
They
like, I was
hadn't
totally fine with
announced anything yet, though. I mean, there
Oh,
was
yeah.
the rumor they were going to do High Priest Pythonius and the red Cobra Con with the snake
Oh,
tail
yeah.
bottom.
But like, I was totally fine with that. And then, but at the same time, I do like that they heard that people weren't happy with it, and before they even put it up for sale, said,
Right.
"Okay, nope, we'll go back and we'll redo this." Okay, that at least shows that they're listening. So
Yeah, I mean, personally, I liked the snake layer they showed better. The first one that they showed was like a concept drawing. It was very basic. I mean, that was my top pick because I want new stuff. I feel like the snake layer that they delivered was what, if they had made a snake playset in 1987, that's what that would have looked like because it, everyone's like, oh, it's not a clamshell. It's like, yeah, it's like a three-part, it folded in like
yeah,
three-part, which
it
if you
became
look
kind of
at,
like a cube or something.
yeah, they had designed, I'll send you this picture too. They were going to do in Princess of Power, they were doing a Whispering Woods playset. And the way that worked is that there was the big front piece, and then there were two side wings that like opened out, and then they folded in. Same design for what the snake layer would have been. So it was in line with what they were wanting to do in 86, 87. for the various lines. So I thought it looked great. I was happy with it. Um, I get like, people like have concerns about space or whatnot, but
Yeah.
I will also say some of the people complaining about, like, oh, it's too big, I don't have space, are the same people who are going to end up buying 2 or 3 of the Mythic Legion's dragons. So like, I'm just going to say, for me, I thought overall it was a lot of, I mean, I am glad that, and I probably would have had to pass because we were at the time we were moving, and I would have been sad about that. So I'm glad for personal reasons that it was delayed,
Yeah.
so that I can actually probably do it. But I'm also sort of annoyed that it was delayed because people don't understand the difference between concept art and actual product.
Right.
So anyway,
I mean, now
um,
one thing I will say is on that fan favorite vote, though, like I much rather would have gotten like the terror tower thing
yeah,
from I would have rather had that, or even given if they would have taken that and then included like on the backside or on a wing or something like that, the vintage looking horde layer. I forget what it's
yeah,
called. Forgive me. Um, like that would have been really cool. Like it would have been something new, but also something vintage, and it would have been the best of both worlds. And I think then people wouldn't have been as upset because it was like, oh, we're getting something we voted for, but we're also getting something from the classic line also, not
well, I
something that
think,
was a concept in the classic line.
yeah, I mean, but also they had said when they had us vote that they were probably going to do like to pick. They basically had us pick your top two because
Yeah.
my feeling was they probably would have done one this year and one next year. And with the Horde and She-Ra being next year, we're going to get some sort of Horde playset. So I don't know. Overall, I think it's a good time to remember not everyone understands how toy stuff, like concept art and what have you. So,
Right.
that's sort of the downfall of the concept of crowdfunding and whatnot is that not every it brings people into a layer of toy production that maybe or any production of a product, be it toy or anything, that most people aren't sort of aware of how it works, and this is how
Right.
we learn.
Yep.
And speaking of snakes, you have a custom here of another snake.
And actually, speaking of concept art too, because this is from concept art by Axel of I'm gonna say it's Shamor, but again, we were talking about this before we started. I don't know if it's Shamor or Chamor, because there's not a but it's
Yeah,
CHAM-OR. So I always pronounce it Shamor because that just he kind of looks more whaley to me, and I think Shamu. So Shamor is what I called him. But I mean, again, he was all existing parts, except for the head, which
yeah.
I actually got hired to do a custom of this. I actually just got the tongue lasher in to make it. And
Oh,
so that'll be
nice.
one I'm working on over the next couple weeks or whatever. So that'll be one that
I'm
goes out.
trying to look him up right now because
Who, Shamor?
yeah, and I'm stupidly doing a Google search instead of doing the smartest thing, which is going to,
I found it on his Instagram.
which is where,
Is where
yeah, which is where I'm going.
which is where I got the uh, picture from. I modified the picture a little bit for the thumbnail because he has like other stuff laying on the artwork, and so like you
Yeah,
can't see like one of the feet or whatever. And so like I like put
there we go.
my foot
Yeah,
or whatever
Sham
in front of
or
it.
CHAM-OR.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's Chamor or Shamor, but I'm calling him Shamor. And if Mattel comes out and tells me it's wrong, then we'll go from there. But until then, he's Shamor.
Ah, there we go.
Hey, I'm big.
Oops, I hit the I hit the wrong button. Sorry.
You're fine.
Getting used to all the streaming stuff, peeps. My
Right?
apologies. Um, and then really quickly, let's get back to there we go. And I was like, wait, that's not the right button, and then it was too late. Yeah, as Oz mentioned, Camor pronounced like
Oh,
chameleon.
okay. That makes sense. I didn't think of it that way. Thank you,
Yeah,
Oz.
because he
That
looks
is,
like a
yeah,
chameleon
chameleon.
lizard.
Yep.
So
Okay. I didn't think of it that way. That makes sense. So
um,
Camor. Okay.
yeah. And next up, we've got, speaking of Lee, this is one
Yep.
of Lee's heads on
That's just a
Barbarian He-Man.
regular He-Man body, like for the most part. I think the wrist are from the chest and the wrist actually are from Ultimate Warrior.
Okay.
The He-Man looking one. I think it's just basic He-Man pelvis, and then Stratos, naked Stratos legs, and then Lee's head. And I just did this as a short. I put out like for a week, maybe it was 2 weeks. I did like 4 shorts because I was actually taking inspiration from you because you that's basically most of your channel is shorts. And people keep telling me that like, no, this is really good to get you new people. And like it got me exposure, but I don't feel like it got me a whole lot of new people. But it was it was an easy way to get some easy to do customs out of the way. And so I was able to do him, the fake one of the fakers we saw previously, a He-Man and a Skeletor, which I think those two will come up later. The werewolf was an idea I had from the Grayskull Dungeon Great. Excuse me. He has there's one that has like a purple furry claw, and you kind of see his face too, but that's all you see. And I was like, well, they already gave us frog. Excuse me, frogmonger. This would be something that would be cool to give us some more of these dungeon characters. Like we got the tentacle thing in the Mysteries of Grayskull set. And so it's just like, well, how would I do this? And it was literally just taking the Demigorgon body with from the 2-pack and dyeing and painting it, and then just making the Mossman head and recutting and sculpting it. And I love the way it turned out, and people really liked this one. And speaking of the Ultimate Warrior, that's actually the armor from him. I just
Nice.
painted it yellow.
Yeah, no, I really liked this one too. I wish that they would give us after we got why do I want to call him Frogmore? That's not his name.
Frogmonger. Yeah.
Frogmonger. After we got Frogmonger, I was hoping that they would do more of the Dungeon Great characters, and so far they have not.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because there are a lot of cool. There are at least 2 or 3 characters that they could do in there as full figures.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's some that you only see like a hand. Like there's one, it looks like it's a furry like 2 furry like claws coming out of there.
Yeah.
That like would be a really cool character. I don't know. Like you literally have free reign to figure out the rest of that character, which actually I kind of have an idea for. But like you could give us something like that. Like that would be something like if I was designing characters at Mattel, that would be like one I'd want to work on. I can just design this from scratch.
Well, I think even on the back of the Frogmonger card back, Axel gave us a few designs of what he thinks the characters look like. So it just seems really too bad. Too bad. That they haven't let Axel create more of these characters because, in my humble opinion, like it's a lot of what I think, like Frogmonger was pretty well received, I think, by most
Mhm.
people. Um, and I think that he's a good, in my opinion, he's really what's good. A good way to introduce new characters into sort of a vintage themed line like Mochi, where you're taking characters who almost existed in the vintage line and then actually fully fleshing them out. So
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see a few more of the. I would like Mattel to actually do the all of the great characters. I mean, one of
Mhm.
them's a snake, and then
Yeah.
one of them looks like some sort of slime that may have um, sentience or whatever. But like they could do a lot.
Right.
Excellent,
A little investigating on back.
right? And then while that was Cassie popped in and came, she went away as mysteriously as she came, so we didn't get to answer all of her questions. But next time Cassie pops in. And then speaking of Lords of Power, here's the
Yep.
Lords of Power Skeletor.
So again, this was one like when I did this, I did not have that set, and I don't know why, but I've always liked this Skeletor head.
Yeah,
Um, and so it's like, you know what? I had actually messaged Lee. I want to say it was like a year ago, and he was coming to Maryland Toy Fair, and I was asking if he did the Lords of Power Skeletor and Man at Arms head, and he said he had the molds, but he doesn't have any ready. But if I wanted, he'd make me a couple. I said, yeah, I'd
yeah,
appreciate it, and he did. Man in the colors I wanted and everything, and they turned out amazing. And so I made a short of the Man at Arms a while back. I think I did it like the same time I did the Filmation Hordak, but it was just again wanting to get some of these littler characters or littler customs that was just painting the head and painting the armor. That was all I had to do to this. That didn't warrant a whole 8,
yeah,
10, 15-minute video. So I just did it as a short and put it up with the Barbarian He-Man and the Faker, the card back Faker, which again was just painting a head and painting the armor. And it gave me content for 2 weeks and trying out the shorts.
yeah,
The Gygor was one I thought was going to be I thought this was going to be different than it was. But at
yeah.
Maryland or RetroCon, Retro Toy Con up in Philadelphia. What's his name? There's a guy who does heads, and he does a really good job. And I can't think of his name now, but his shop, his YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it, did that head. And forgive me, I'm trying to look it up at the same time.
No worries.
Wolf King Customs. But I think he does most of them for like Mythic and Cosmic Legions.
Yeah,
So I'd gone in there hoping to find a head to use for Gygor, and the one I originally found was like way small. I was like, okay, well, if I gotta use one, I'll use this. And then I found this one that was a little bigger. I was like, this will work perfect, and I'll put him on a Andre the Giant body and blah blah. And I wasn't thinking how a gorilla's proportions were compared to a human, so I was
yeah,
just going to put him on a human buck, and he was just going to be bigger, and that was going to be it. And then the closer and closer I got to doing this, I was like, wait a minute, they have like short legs
yeah,
and really long arms. So that's not going to look right. So then this became a lot of sculpting, which, I used a lot of Andre. I used Ram Man. I used another wrestler. I think it was like Earthquake or Typhoon or something like that. I used Bane's hands from McFarlane to make his feet and a lot of foam. But like he turned out really well. I had to make the cape the way I did. I made it out of
yeah,
foam, and I had to make it that way because he would not stand up. He
right.
was too heavy. And those feet were hands, so they did not sit right. So it's
Right.
like, well, I'll give him a somewhat sturdy cape, and that'll be kind of like a third leg. And it worked perfectly, and he stands fine now. But that was just like I'd had the paint to do him for a year and a half and just never got around to doing it.
Well, he came out really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it would be cool if Mattel had given us this one, but obviously not.
Well, but there's still time.
That's true. That's true.
They could still do that.
And they could do him in red as well.
Yes. And that would
Uh,
be an easy repaint they could do. They could do like a con exclusive that,
yeah,
or they could do like a regular release or Mattel Creations or whatever that was like the yellow and green one, and then maybe do a con exclusive that's the
the
red,
red one.
or vice versa or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
These are other fakers. So neither of these are my design. The one has kind of been attributed to me, but it's not. The yellow and gray one
Yeah,
was one that Barbarossa Customs came up with years ago and actually made card backs for and everything, and would sell like in the mid 2000s or 2000
yeah,
teens or whatever. And it's basically like the super evolved version of Faker. Like what happens when the robot actually gets magical powers and stuff like that too, and like evolves even further, which I thought was a really cool idea, and I really liked the way he looks. And so like I literally went to his site, and he, you could get all the armor and that color and stuff like that. And so I shot him a message and was like, hey, I think this is your design, is it? And it was. And I was like, I kind of want to make a custom of it. Is that cool with you? And he's like, absolutely. He's like, I told him I bought all the armor from him, which, then it was another sale. He was even happier. And he actually now has this set of armor on his site as Argentor's armor. And
nice.
yeah, so like it was his character, but like I guess I kind of helped bring it back a little bit. The other one, Evil Ganger, that was one I saw on Facebook, and I want to say it was Motu Joe shared a picture of it, and it was a custom he had bought from like Customs of the Universe in like the late 90s, early 2000s or whatever. And again, I just really liked the way it looked. I liked the concept of it, and it's like uh Evil Lynn's Faker. Like if she
Right.
got a Faker robot, this is what she did. And which it's yellow like Evil Lynn, so that kind of makes me think that my recollection of that Faker story might be right, because that's kind of the same idea. Is like, okay, it's yellow like Evil Lynn, maybe it's whatever her race is, which I don't think we've ever gotten an answer to that. I think she's just supposed to be human. In Filmation, I think she was one of the astronauts that came with Queen Marlena, right?
Yeah, Evelyn Powers. Oh,
Yeah.
one thing.
But then in Masterverse, not Masterverse, shoot. Revelation, she's from Eternia. So I don't know if they've really figured out what they want to do with Evil Lynn. So, but again, this was one that I couldn't really reach out to them, but I did my best to credit them, not only in the video, but also down below in the description. But it's just a cool concept. And again, I love fakers. I got a whole faker army building now. And so like, yeah.
And really quick, let's thank Todd C for the 99-cent super sticker.
Thank you.
Muchly appreciated, my friend. And hopefully this means that tomorrow, because Todd tends to have good luck finding toys that he's looking for when he pops in to one of my streams. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, you do. Everyone needs an Argento. And I'm pulled up Barbarossa Customs. His website is up, and he's got a lot of really cool stuff. So
He does. He has so much cool stuff. And he has like kits. Like I have a couple kits that I haven't even done yet. I want to say one. I have one right there, but he has all kinds of stuff, like to modify your existing Origins, Masterverse, Classics, Vintage, like to add stuff to them. He's even got,
And
I think, a couple things for like Joe and Thundercats on there too. But
and
yeah,
really quick, Oz, since I know you're watching, he right now has a headless horseman conversion kit
oh,
that's
that's
compatible
great.
with Origins. That's like
Yes,
a pumpkin head, and that
yep,
basically you could do. I remember you wanting to do a custom of a like a pumpkin head. So I definitely recommend checking it out because it's looks like it might be really close to what you were looking for. And the conversion kit is, in my opinion, pretty affordable if you get the whole set. And it's,
yeah,
I think, $14 for the translucent, glow in the dark, or regular colored. So anyway, awesome.
yeah. He's got great stuff.
So yeah, I've picked up a few when he closed out his eBay store. He did the snake staff and the vintage style snake staff and Tila's
Mhm.
shield, but an Evelyn blue. So that Evelyn could finally have a goddess shield.
There you go.
So
And
yeah,
that's
it's
actually
pretty cool.
one. If going back to the battle or laser light ones, he actually sells kits
Yeah.
for vintage laser light ones. And actually, Toy Ploy has the Skeletor one. I think he has a video of doing the whole thing, and he has the electronics, all the clear parts, and everything. You literally just have to glue it together, paint it, and you're good to go. It's like $130, but it's way better than $1,300 for a vintage one. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm looking, and his site does have things like the shield, and you can get them in
mhm.
a variety of colors. So if you
And
want
he's
an
got like
Evelyn
swords. Like
shield,
one thing I do like is he has the classic, not classics, the vintage sword, but he
mhm,
made it where it's two sided. So it's not just the half sword, it's a full sword. And it is very nice. Actually, somewhere around here I have one. In here.
same Todd, same.
So
It's
I
really
have one
hard.
somewhere, but yes, it is very nice. Actually, in that picture of Argentor, the sword he's holding is actually the sword I'm talking about, I think.
Oh, nice.
I might be wrong. That might be a classic sword. I'm not sure. But
Really quick, I guess we'll shift a little bit just so people can see that you do a little bit more than just Mode 2.
yeah.
Although this is Origins compatible. So this is from last May when we did the May the Power of the Force. A bunch of us got together and did Power of the Force reviews, and you didn't do reviews, but you did,
I actually
which
have these right here.
nice. And I will say that if you're going to do Power of the Force customs, Masters of the Universe bucks work because they were pretty buff when they started.
Right. So I dropped the sword, but yeah, there's the Darth Vader, which this is just a 3D printed head.
I'm going to quickly put you in solo layout. There we go.
Yeah, this is just a 3D
Nice.
printed head. And like, yeah, you had reached out to me because a bunch of people were doing Power of the Force,
Yep.
like reviews. And I do reviews, but I've done a lot more reviews since then. And so I was like, well, how about I just do a couple customs instead? And you're like, whatever, that's
Yep.
fine. So that's what I did. And this head is actually from Black Series Boba Fett, and I just modified it. And the rest is just, you know, armor I modified, and that actually the backpacks from 2000X also. But yeah, otherwise it was just adding, subtracting, and
Nice.
I really
It
like the way they came out.
looks like he used a Roboto.
I it was either Roboto or
Kane.
no,
No.
I don't think it was. It might have been Kane. It was either I'm thinking Trapjaw, not Trapjaw. Cronus.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Okay.
they're Cronus legs, but I'm not positive.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're all the same mold. So like
Yeah. Pretty much.
but it might I don't know, because he's got all the circuitry up here and up here. So
Yeah.
maybe I modified it. I don't remember. It's been a while. That was May. Like, I'm lucky if I remember what I did yesterday.
Same.
Like, but then, a lot of it's just foam sculpting like I normally do, like we were talking about earlier. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a quick and easy way to get the armors to work. So
no, they look really good. I liked them. I thought it was fun. And speaking of foam, it looks like we've used a few foam to do a few
yes,
more modern customs, I guess is the best way to say it. Because one of these is,
they're both from Masterverse, or not
yeah,
Masterverse, Revelations or
yeah.
Revolutions, whichever the newer one is.
Well, that's what's interesting though about this He-Man, because this is sort of the Revolution/Revelations look at the end, but also it's really close to sort of the comic series, the multiverse one that a lot
Do
of
you
your
know what that armor
customs.
actually looks exactly like?
Oh yeah. Okay, wait,
That's
wait.
where I got that armor from. Not from this one, from the whatever 5.5 one that came out that doesn't have all the articulation. But
Yeah,
it's this armor. It's this armor.
interesting.
It's these boots. It's everything from this character, and they just
Read.
use this design, because even when he transforms, he goes from the regular He-Man H that he
Yeah,
had, and then it morphs into this. And as soon as I saw that, I was like,
interesting.
"Oh wow, they went with the animated one or the CGI one," which I mean totally makes sense. Which again, like Mattel, give us a Revolutions one. You have the armor,
Yep.
you have the feet,
It
you
would
have
be really,
everything you
yeah,
need.
to
Literally,
do
the only
that.
thing you have to, mold a cape and like the one gauntlet, and that's it. Like, get on it, Mattel.
Come on, Mattel.
But like so they just had a big sale on Mattel Creations, so I
Yeah,
got another set of the 4-pack. But at the time, I didn't have that. If I
yeah,
had that now, I would just repainted that. It would have taken me way less
right.
time. Um, I was able to use like part of the harness, because it's not all one piece. It's not an actual harness. It's just an overlay that they glue
Yeah,
onto the figure. And so I was able to use it, but then I had to use foam to sculpt the H in there and
right.
stuff like that. And the whole belt I had to sculpt, the boots, the gauntlet thing. And the one gauntlet's actually supposed to go on the other arm, but because he's got this big lion head thing, they both don't fit on that arm. So I was like, you know what? It's
Right.
my character. I'm putting it on the other one. But I really like the way he turned out. And the sword is literally just taking 4 half swords and cutting them apart and gluing them together like that. And it makes it look like it's coming apart like it does in the cartoon.
That's really cool.
And the man at arms is literally just like simplifying the exist or no, this was the Donatello
Yeah,
from Turtles of Grayskull armor, and I think it's the shell armor for the shoulder too. I might be
yeah,
wrong. But then it was just for the one leg, I just needed to add a couple pieces, and then instead of the hand, he's got the mace. I didn't have an extra of the bigger ones that came with the Macho Man,
yeah,
because that one would have worked better. But he always had the smaller mace, so that's why I went with the smaller mace, because it was his mace on his hand. It just doesn't look right, I don't think, but it is what it is, and I'm happy with it. But he's got more of a conquistador helmet, where I do like that a lot.
yeah. But that was the original. Mark
Yeah,
Taylor's original designs were far more conquistador than he sort of ended up. So
he was actually supposed to be in a different line, and I want to say, oh,
yeah,
something's
it
telling me.
was a Robin Hood line that like Robin
Is that
Hood
what it
was
was?
based or some such, and he was
Okay,
called
yeah, yeah,
Paladin. So
yes, yes. And he
yeah,
basically looks almost exactly the same. They just kind of muscled him up
and
and
he's a little bit
had the armor.
his costume's a little uncomplicated because the original Mark Taylor design had a lot more going on.
Yeah, they
Let's
stripped
see.
it down a lot.
Yeah, the original one had like armor all the way up the leg, and
Hmm.
both shoulders had sort of the harness, the like shell things on them, and he had a big furry cape.
Yeah,
So yeah, and if you Google Paladin Mark Taylor, it's the first thing that pulls up. So
there
I
you
don't have a way to properly share that with everything happening on screen. So
go.
hello, Rolando, lovely to see you. Thank you for popping in. Let's see, and then of course we've got these.
Yep. So that He-Man, that the head I got from Barbarossa Customs. Actually, the faker we saw earlier, same thing. He had sent me. I want to say it was the end of. It was right before I got ready to do the laser light Skeletor. I had reached out to him because I was looking for a skull to use, and I
Yeah,
reached out and I was like, "Hey, do you have any like misprints or test shots or anything like that of skull heads? And if so, could I get one? Or how much would it be for one? I don't want to spend $30 for something that got cut up. And
yeah,
he's like, what? I actually have a bunch of extra parts that are like test shots or this or that or whatever. I'll send them to you. I don't think he charged me anything, but he might have. If he did, it wasn't a whole lot.
yeah,
And like I've used this head now. I've used a lot of them in a lot of different videos, but like there's nothing wrong with them. They were just, you know, they have extra plastic on the back of the head, or
right,
he hasn't cleaned any of them up, or they might have been in a random color. Like there's a Steve Austin, and I've like a green Steve Austin head they sent me. I just
yeah,
haven't found a use for it yet. But this was that newer He-Man head, or actually, it was the head that came with Faker,
yeah.
and everyone really liked it when it was on Faker. Until now, they started putting it on He-Man's, and no one likes it anymore. So we
Well, I
apparently,
think it's the paint app of it.
yeah. But and then I mean, but that's the Faker was just a test shot of I want to say it's the Alcala He-Man head that I think he sells on his site, and he just had done it in Faker colors, and so it's literally the same thing. I just painted the face on it and glued it together. The other one is the Cosmic He-Man from the mini comics, the newer mini comics. I think he's in
Yeah,
like Moss Man's and Fangors, and I think he's in something else. I don't remember. But if you look at this, he also has uh, armor that's very, very, very similar to the animated. Like the
yeah,
difference is he's got the cross in the middle, but like the belt, the boots, the everything. This is literally this figure right here. If you look at it, it is the same boots. It is the same gauntlets. It's the same armor and same piece here. Basically, there's a circle here instead of the skull, but it's the same armor. And so that Mattel could give us this He-Man, and it would cost them zero in tooling. I don't know why they don't, but I like
well,
the idea of it, and it was super simple to do, and it was just a fun concept that he like got more powerful, but then I think he ended up giving it away or something like that. I don't know. It's cool though. I like it.
I like it too. It's really cool. Now we'll get to the vehicle that you did, and this was a collaboration with Toy Ploy.
Yep.
And last time you were here a year ago was right when you guys had either just agreed to it or you had filmed yours, but you weren't announcing it yet. Um, so this was when for those who remember when Cory was here last time and he talked about sort of a big project coming, this was that project.
Yep. And this, I love the way this turned out. And Toy Ploy did an amazing job on the stickers. Like if you have not gone and seen any of his sticker sets that he has, recreated for vintage stuff or custom stuff or whatever, they're amazing. And he actually has this set on his site for you to download if you want him. But it was, I don't even know where I got the idea. I saw it on packaging and I was just like, Wind Raiders are like $20 or actually, I think I got this for 10 or 15 at like Ollie's. Like, this would be not too hard. And I thought I was going to be able to like take it apart like you could the vintage one. You cannot.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it was like, okay, we got to, just sculpt in place. And I'm going to have to mask more and stuff like that. The biggest problem was the paint. The paint did not cure right. And when it seemed like it cured, I'd put a clear coat over it. And then apparently the first coat hadn't cured all the way. So then it all wrinkled up. So then I'd sand everything off and redo it. I painted the red on this thing 4 different times to get it to finally work right. And finally it was like, you know what? It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And I'm happy with it. But this is another one that Mattel could give us very easily.
Oh, yeah.
They just haven't.
Well, and it doesn't make sense because it's been on Origins boxes a couple of times at this point. So
yeah,
it's strange to me that they have not yet. There are a couple things where it would be really easy for them to just do as a repaint that for whatever reason they have not yet. So who knows?
And I would imagine that part of it's kind of like the Night Stalker thing, where that didn't cost them anything else to do. It was literally molding it in different plastic and painting it different colors. And it didn't sell out. But at the same time, if one that you didn't have to spend any extra money to make didn't sell out, that's the one I want to sell out.
Right.
It's kind of going back to the Geldor thing, which if they did just reuse or classics parts and the only new stuff on it was armor and a set of boots, like if one's not going to sell out, that's the one I want to not sell out, not the one I had to resculpt the whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
And then of course, Gray Skull.
I love this. This is based on I don't want to say it's original, but Mark Taylor's more original early designs before it got refined a little more. More what the promotional material for it it looks like this, and it's got this really cool colors and stuff like that, and I've always loved it. I like the green and the blue. I don't know. I really liked it, and I wanted to make it. And it didn't take real long. It took longer to sculpt the little legs thing than it did to do anything else. And like the interior was talking about using foam. That's literally just foam core that you used to use to make like display boards in high school.
Yeah.
For like whatever. Like, but you can just buy like foam core boards now. And that's literally all the inside is. And I'm not 12. I'm not actually playing with these. Like, it works fine. Like, would it hold up to a 6 or 7 year old like playing with it with the action figures? Probably not. I don't know. But it's only one side. The other side I just sanded down and made it as flat as I could, and then just painted it. But I also designed. If you look at the original art, well, not the original art, the concept behind the scenes photo. I don't know what you want to call it. The one that still has like the mat in it and all that.
Yeah.
The rug for the trapdoor is different. Yeah. And I remember I reached out to you, and I reached out to a Battle Ram blog, and like there's only one photo that any of us could find of it, and it was literally just finding a better version of it, and that version wasn't very good either because it was taken in the 90s or in the 80s rather, and printed in a book that's not real good for enlarging and stuff like that. So I kind of just designed it myself, like took cues from that and just designed my own, and I was happy with how it turned out. And apparently people were happy with how this whole thing turned out, because this video was like one of my best performing videos of the last year.
I need to get you to send me the decal for that rug.
Yeah.
For reasons. I've got a
Actually, I
project
think I have
here
it
too
here on
that
my
I want.
phone.
Nice. I was one of the people who really liked this project. I think also, to me, there's just something really cool about taking sort of a manufactured playset and then sort of renovating and upgrading it so it meets your specifications. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's really appealing in general. Which brings us to the next slide, which is a project on my list. Now that I have we'll have a actual studio slash shop shortly, which will happen. This is something, again, I feel like Mattel is sort of missing out because this, reuses parts of Snake Mountain. They could do a
Mhm.
few new parts. They would need a new back half of it, but otherwise they could pretty much just reuse the front of Snake Mountain for this.
Yeah,
So I feel
absolutely.
like this would be really easy for them to manifest. And they could reuse sort of the vintage style snake instead of sort of the one the new Snake Mountain has. I'm gesturing even though it's not on, technically won't show up on camera, but it's just over there in the corner.
Yeah.
But this is also, again, like, this is on my list of things to make. This is the one you did is amazing. Eldor is doing one with his own spin on
Yes.
it. Master Versal Toy
And
Hunter.
I will say this, Eldor's, for what I've seen of it, like, looks way better than mine does. I'll be the first one to say it,
Well,
and I'm
he's
glad it
also
does. Like,
again, he's doing his own spin on it. He's turning into
yeah.
the Green Goddess's sort of fortress or what have you. So,
But
but
yeah, I mean, but this was like we've seen early photos of this.
yeah,
And this place that is what eventually became Snake Mountain.
right,
And so like it was only logical to just buy a vintage Snake Mountain on eBay for $20 or whatever and go from there. And I was able to saw it up and blah blah. And it originally I was going to vacuum form the one side,
yeah,
and I kind of scared myself out of it. I don't know if I scared myself out of it. It was more that like I was going to have to build a whole thing to hold all these heaters to
yeah,
then place this up there to then try to vacuum form it down. And I was like, you know what? I can just paper mache this
yeah.
with wood glue and it'll dry like a plastic. And I can just use that. And so that's what I did. And it worked fine. It worked perfectly. Um, the there are parts of this that have failed. Um,
Okay,
it is not the paper mache. It
right,
is like the 40-year-old plastic that like of the hinge or whatever does
yeah,
not stay real well, and has broken. And to be fair, it was probably already broken. It was
right,
you know from the 80s. I bought it on eBay. It was probably already breaking. So in moving and stuff, it has broken, so I need to do some repairs on it. But no, I really like the way it turned out. And it wasn't super hard to do. It was people the people who watched this liked it, but in total, a lot of people did not like receive this video real well or didn't watch it. I don't know which one it is, but
right.
I was surprised. I thought people were gonna like it. I thought it was gonna do better, but it is
Yeah, I
what it is.
kind of, it probably just didn't get out there. I mean,
Yeah.
so because it's like this is of your projects. I mean, obviously, I enjoy all of your work, but this one was just the one where I'm like, this is again, this is sort of what I wish Mattel was giving us more of,
Mhm.
mixed in with like sort of vintage redos. I wish they would have also given us sort of this playset. And there's so much that they could reuse from the Snake Mountain playset that it to me seems like a no-brainer. But what do I know?
Well, this is also one of those things that like we're now getting. Thank you, Dave. We're now getting this new sketchbook series.
Yeah,
Um, this would very easily fit into that line. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Um, a lot of the characters that we even are talking about, like that Cosmic He-Man, would
Yep.
very easily fit into that line. And there
Yep.
might be plans for all this. We don't know. You and I don't
Yeah,
work for
we
Mattel.
don't.
I would love to work for Mattel. Mattel, call me.
Right.
I would love to work for Mattel. I'm yeah. So
Yeah, my
everything
first
we've
year of
said may
product
be
would be like,
their plan. We have no idea.
yeah, my first year, if I worked for Mattel, my first year of motion product would be like, we're going to do the Mark Taylor collection, we're going to do the Alcala mini comics, and we're going to do some vintage Princess of Power. Let's do 24 figures this year, and it's all from those places, with a couple 2000 and X and some Revelation
Right.
mixed in. Like,
But that also could be one of those things that some of that could get spaced out a little bit. And like,
yep.
that's probably what they're doing is like, they might have all of this on the docket. And it's like, okay, we have sketches planned out for 3 years. I don't know what they got, but let's say. But you got to think, we've already gotten more out of the Origins line than we did the Vintage line.
It's true.
I think if I remember correctly, the Vintage line I think had 87 figures.
Something.
I might be wrong. Someone can fact check me on that. I think right now we are like at 170 some Origins figures. So we've doubled, more than doubled, and already got an Eternia that then we made 5,000 of the original one or whatever. They made even more of it for this one. Granted, it wasn't that many more. It was 9,000. So, but still, they made almost twice as many. Like, this line is not for anyone to say this line isn't successful is crazy. It's gone on, I think, let's see, it started in 2020. Well, technically it started in 2019.
Yeah.
So you figure it's already on its 5th year. Its 5th year at retail would be next year. Yeah. Which, if I remember correctly, that's how long the vintage line went in America. It went longer in Germany and in Argentina.
Yeah, the vintage figures started trickling out like mid to late summer of '82, and then the line was it was canceled by the end of '87. So yeah. So that's 83, 84, 85, 86. All 4 of those were full years, and then 82, technically 6 years, but really if you count by month, it was like about 5 years. So it's about, it's gonna it'll definitely. I mean, it's also, I think, with the Mattel Creations aspect of it, I think it could just go on indefinitely. And I feel like based on it's, in my opinion, classics would be more expensive to manufacture because of sort of the scale of it. And the way Classics was made, it took a little bit more to sort of do certain characters, whereas a lot of the armor ended up being really bulky because of the scale, whereas with this, they just need to they can quote unquote translate it and originize it, where it's like it doesn't have to be a perfect replica like they did with the 2000 and X stuff. It's like it's close but it's vintage. It's made to look like the vintage toy line rather than 2000 and X, so it's really close, but it's adapted. So,
but you also got to think, like with Origins now, they've also now pivoted, and in the same line they have the Turtles of Grayskull stuff, which is, I don't care what anyone says, it's still part of Origins. It's just a subset. They have Cartoon Collection, which again is still part of Origins. It's just a different subset. And they've already teased
Thundercats.
Thank you. Now, they have not said whether that was for Origins or Masterverse, but I would assume it's going to be Origins because you already have all these other subsets. And
Yep.
that's not even counting that, like we've already mentioned, they have all the wrestling figures that use these same bucks and have used these same bucks
I
and
think
are Walmart exclusives.
right.
So
I think
they are Walmart's footing some of the bill for that.
yeah.
Uh, Nickelodeon is, I'm sure, footing some of the bill for the Turtles of Grayskull stuff. And that's why, I guarantee you, that's why we got the animated Too Bad first, was because
Right.
they used the Tubop Steady one. And he's the only one of that has that buck.
Yep.
But it's the animated buck. And as soon as you saw it was the animated buck because the
Yep.
muscles are different and everything. And it's like, that's how they afforded that. That's the only reason that we got that one first. Because if they would have done Tubop Steady and not given us Too Bad first, people would have been making Too Bad.
Yep.
And they would have no reason to buy it. And I mean, look, they put it out and it sold out like right away.
Yep.
Like it's gonna sell, and they just need to do more of the classic ones, and I think they'll do fine.
But I feel like Thundercats definitely makes the most sense in the origin scale because that's what, even as a kid, like when my brother was, like I got Chitara, like that was my Thunder, because but even then I remember being annoyed that they were bigger than the Masters of the Universe. So if you really pay attention to sort of going back to like 1985, 86, when Thundercats toys started out, what people have kind of wanted since then is something that scales with Masters of the Universe. So fingers crossed that that's what they give us, because to me that's what I most want at this point. Like Super 7, I know there are people who like haven't cared for what they've been doing for the last few years, but I feel like Super 7 has done in their Ultimates line pretty good representations of the Thundercats. I know some of the newer stuff, the paint looks really not so great, but at the same time, like if you've been buying Thundercats Ultimates since day one, you've got probably some of the best Thundercat figures that have ever been made. So the only thing that really, in my opinion, is missing from Thundercats is something that scales in that 5.5. And I know Funko did Savage World or whatever the thing was called, Savage Age. And I know Super 7 appears to be maybe re-releasing some of those, because that was a Super 7 / Funko thing. And it looks like they may be re-releasing those, but I didn't like those. Because again, they're not made of great plastic. They what is it that the Origins packaging says? Modern posability with vintage play or whatever it is. Like that's
retro styling with modern articulation.
Yeah, retro play, modern posability. And that's what those Funko Thundercats were missing for me, is like they were just, and the same with like their DC, it's just a chunk of plastic. Very brittle, easily broken. So and that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So with all of that said, we are a little over 2 hours, and I know we're going to try to wrap up so we both can go join Oz on the Clubhouse. But before we wrap up, what can we expect on your channel in the next few weeks, months?
Well, I'm hoping to finally get this thing done. So I've done a couple like videos on the new shop. I'm officially in the new shop now, filming and stuff like that. So this is cool. This is more of the talking head mode. I have shop lights, as you can see. So when I'm filming, they're on. It's uber bright. But for this, it will be too much. I have a figure I'm going to be working on during the Clubhouse that I made up. It's an original character. And I'm going with the working name Mismatch. As in MISS-Match. And basically the idea is to take like a bunch of the extra Tila / Evil parts and make kind of like a Frankenstein.
Okay.
Like Frankenstein's monster kind of thing. Yeah. But only it's of different versions of this. And That's kind of my idea. So it'll either work or it won't. But I got all the parts I need right here, and that's probably what I'm going to be working in the background while on Clubhouse. I
Nice.
also am going to try to do like 2000X style battle armor He-Man,
Okay.
which isn't that much of a difference. It's, you know, a new loincloth, a little more detailing, and like a headband. So that might end up being like a short or something.
Yeah.
I got 2 play sets that I'm hoping to get done for December because
Okay.
December has good ad rates and I want some of that money. I need
Some
some
of that
Google money.
money.
Uh, so I'm not going to say what they are. One, uh, one is related to a set of characters that I've done this year and an animated series that came out early this year. The other one I will have to build from scratch,
Okay.
totally. And I was hoping to get Toy Ploy to help me with some stickers and stuff like that, but he's got a lot of stuff going on in his, so I'm going to be kind of left to my own devices to do that, which is totally fine. But that will be hopefully coming, both of those before Christmas. So I got like a list of stuff I'm working on, and I think I might throw together a slime pit He-Man.
Nice.
But that's
That would be
basically
fun.
what I got planned. Sometime I'm gonna when I get this, I'm like 75% there. But when I get
Yeah.
this a little closer to 100%, then I'm gonna do like a shop tour. I've
Oh, cool.
kind of got toy display figured out to a point. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to display everything, but I'm going to try at least get the main things. I got an Eternia back there I got to put together, which I got a spot for now. So yeah, there's some big stuff coming,
Nice.
but there's still figures. It's going to be
Okay.
mostly figures, which is
Nice.
fine because they're fun and they're easy. I don't have any vehicles. Well, no, that's not true. I'm going to try to retrofit a vintage battle ram to fit a Origin Sky Sled.
That would be interesting.
I have not figured it out yet. This is one of those that like I have the main things, but I have not figured out that thing yet. And once I figure out that thing, then it'll be like, oh, Eureka. And then it'll just kind of start happening.
Right.
But I have not figured out that thing yet. With the playset, I'm kind of being very vague about. I have figured out that thing.
Okay.
Um, it's just I literally just had to brute force it, which is going to kind of suck, but at the same time, will kind of be a little interesting. I hope so. Yes,
So basically good stuff coming.
hopefully everyone liked
And
it.
you are also on the journey to 4,000, correct?
Yes, so we have a giveaway, and I have them all down there. Don't get let me pull up the list because I said this on a video before. Actually, I think it was Oz's, one of Oz's lives, and I accidentally said one of the wrong figures. So let me pull up the actual list so I can see exactly which ones I have on here because I don't want to say the wrong ones and someone not get something. Okay. So the goal is to hit 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Now, it does not look very likely because I put this up 2 months ago and I haven't even gotten 100 of that yet. And I still have like just over 500 to go. So I need a lot of people to start sharing and subscribing. But if I hit 4,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, I am picking one person from the United States, Mexico, or Canada to win Mattel Creations Rock On, Cyclone, Extendar, Night Stalker, Demo Man, and Too Bad.
Nice. That's a pretty good
So 6 characters.
That's a
Well,
good haul.
technically 5 characters in a vehicle, but
Yeah.
um, and but the thing of that is that you have to subscribe and then share it on your social media and
Okay.
comment 4,000 under one of the videos that it pertains to. That I have that thing on. I even have it on Instagram. I have it on Facebook, so you can even find those posts and do it. But if I do not get to 4,000 by the end of the year, none of it gets given away.
Okay. And
So
that's fair.
that's the caveat, is that we have to hit 4,000 by December 31st, 2024 at midnight. Well, actually, I guess at 11:59 and 59 seconds. So, well, Tom, you got to comment and subscribe, and well, you already subscribed, but you got to comment 4,000 on one of the videos, and you got to share my channel on one of your social medias. Now, this is open
And
to
I do
people
have
who
the
already
link.
subscribed
Oh,
and people who are yet to subscribe. So, if you're already a subscriber of mine, you can enter to win.
so just comment 4,000 and then share the
And
channel.
share the channel on one of your social medias. Notice how I said on one of them, because I don't care if you do it once on Instagram and comment it, and then share it again on Facebook and comment it, and do it again on YouTube and comment it, and do it again on this and comment it. That's fine. But you need to share it. You need to subscribe, share it, and then comment. And I'm keeping all the comments. And at the end, if we hit it, I'll print them all out, cut them all up. Jess will help me, and we'll pull one. And as long as they're in the United States, Canada, or Mexico, they will win it, and I will mail it to them.
And I do have a link to your channel, and you go down to the description below. There is a link to Cory's channel. So if for some reason you are here and not subscribed, go subscribe. Watch his, today you released your Battleground Tila. Go watch it and then comment 4,000 and then share it on social media. And you're entered.
It's very easy. If you don't have the link, it's just youtube.com/makeshapecreate. So yeah, hopefully we hit it, but yeah.
Well, we'll keep getting the word out, because
Yep.
I'm a fan, obviously. This is the second time I've had you for this, and then I had you to color one, and we'll get you back to color soon.
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully, it might be after the holidays, because
probably
there's a lot of stuff for holidays. But hopefully next time we can get Jess to come too, because
that would be great. I hope. Yeah, no, that would be rad.
And have we teased the plan for March?
We have not yet.
Or are we keeping that close to the chest for now until
close to the chest? Just because
in case stuff changes.
Yeah, people will forget. So, but we do have some stuff that we're working on. As I start getting, now that I have space to work on customs again, I'll be doing more custom stuff on the channel once more. So, not that the coloring will go away, it's just there will be more stuff. So, and speaking of that, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be doing a solo stream. Finally finishing the Gem and the Holograms page I started way back in September. Everyone watching, I do thank you for your patience during the move, when like streaming was just not, because the computer's in a box. So yeah, that'll be tomorrow. So join me and we'll just hang out and chat and color, and it'll be fun. And obviously I've got shorts dropping all the time. And then on Monday, I don't know what I've got on Monday, but I've got a video. I always have a video on Monday. There will be something for you to enjoy on Monday. I'll look. It's not like I don't have it right here in front of me.
We also both are going to be on Spill the Geek Tea.
Yes.
I don't know when your date is. My date
I don't either, but it'll be happening.
I think December 9th.
Yeah.
Tom, if you're still down there.
Yeah, he said 9th earlier, 12/9.
Yes.
That's what Monday is. Thanksgiving color and chill with Barbie. So if you want to spend like 7 to 8 minutes relaxing, watching coloring, going into your holiday, Barbie is serving a turkey. So there you go. I knew it was
Yeah,
something.
so there it is. Yep. The 9th. That's what I thought it was. So if you guys want to see either of those, you should go subscribe to Tom's channel. And yep. We record on Sunday. The show's on Monday. Yep. It's pre-recorded. But
Damn.
yes. So Allison's on one. I'm on one. Kenzo from Kenzo Creations is one of his co-hosts, and Megan J Retro, I believe, is one of his co-hosts. So yes.
Yep. And then really quick. And once again, thank you, Todd, for the super sticker. I appreciate it. I am not able to do full monetization yet. I still have some of the watch time to make, but at this time, super stickers, super chats are possible. So I thank everyone who has, because I've gotten quite a few. So I appreciate every little bit you do to help support the channel. So Eldor, yep, Master Versal.
Yep.
All right. And with that, we should go ahead and wrap up so I can get some food before Clubhouse. And I'm going to assume if my bladder is saying something needs to happen, I bet your bladder is also like, hey.
I'm actually okay, but I will probably go hit the head just before, just so I don't have to go during it. But
exactly. All right. And with that, please go subscribe to Cory if you are not already. And if you are, just go watch something. Go watch this video from today if you haven't, and if you have, just watch it again. Cory does good work. And I'll be here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll color some gem in the holograms, and I will just ramble because that's what I do. And as always, remember, Mobius trash. And on that note, I'm Allison Joy, Retro Toy Princess. This is my guest, Cory from Make Shape Create, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya.